Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Talk of the Town podcast. If you have not already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, as we're now on the road to 400 subscribers here on the YouTube channel. If you love sports content, sports talk, anything from sports betting to updated rankings every week, it's all right here on the Talk of the Town podcast. And here on today's video, we have Top 10 Tuesday, where at the end of every NFL week, we re-rank the top 10 teams and quarterbacks at the end of every NFL week. And we're also going to react to the Eagles versus Packers Monday Night Football game from last night as well. But I don't know if last night, or not even last night, the last couple of days for you guys, the temperature has just dropped extremely. Like 3 days ago, it was like 60 degrees where I live at. I live in Maryland. I live about 25 minutes away from Baltimore. And the temperature just went from like being 60 to kind of like the high 50s, maybe mid 60s, to it's 30 degrees this morning. And I've had some friends, I've had some family members, kind of come down with a cold or whatever. And I feel like I'm definitely coming down with something. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I'm mentioning that just in case I do sound stuffed, because I am. So my apologies for that. I don't know what the hell is going on with this weather. It's November and Maryland weather, that's for sure. If you know, you know. But let's get into the Eagles versus Packers Monday Night Football game from last night. It's looking like a disaster for the Packers, especially these last couple of weeks. Coming into the season, I thought the Packers, their main issue would be on their defense, and not necessarily with their pass rush. Even after the Micah Parsons trade, I still had some concerns with their secondary, and their secondary's actually played pretty well all season. They've had some games where they haven't looked as great, like the Cowboys game from a month or so back, but for the most part, the secondary's actually played really well, and so is just the entire defense for the Packers. But I would have thought in a million years the offense would be as bad as they've been the last couple of weeks. I mean, last night they had 7 points. Well, how many points did they have against the Panthers last week? Hold on, let me check again real quick. They had 13 points against the Panthers a week ago before that. So I wouldn't have thought in a million years that the Packers offense would have been the problem for them so far throughout the season, especially with Matt LaFleur, as good as they've been the last few years, and not even just few years, for years now. Even when they had Aaron Rodgers, they've had Jordan Love, who's in his prime, who's not quite nearly as good as Aaron Rodgers, but he's a borderline all-pro level quarterback. I mean, he's a top 10, top 8 quarterback when he's playing at his best. So, there's no shortage of talent on the Green Bay offense. You spend a first-round pick on Matthew Golden. You get Christian Watson back a few weeks ago. Romeo Doubs. I mean, their receiving core has not been an issue for them at all the last few years, especially in the Jordan Love era. These guys are extremely young, but you're starting to wonder now as they're kind of getting older. It's older. I mean, they're still in their mid-20s. This seems extremely young. I mean, they're the youngest team in the league 3 years ago. So, or really 2 years ago, to be honest with you. So, this Packers team is not getting old by any stretch, but as they're kind of getting older, getting in the contract years, these guys' play has just kind of went downhill a little bit. I think, is it some of the scheming? I think so. I think Matt LaFleur is a little bit too conservative, but also what I said with the Panthers game last week as well is they kind of just feel like they have no direction on offense. It feels like, either give it to Josh Jacobs, or it's kind of a free-for-all out there. Like Jordan Love, you just kind of do your thing. Whoever's open, you just get it to him. Like, I know it kind of sounds like, well, it's not kind of like that with any other team. Like, there's no identity to this Packers offense. That's more or less what I mean. And again, it just feels like a free-for-all with these receivers out there. Apparently, Matthew Golden isn't happy. The vibes just are not up in Green Bay right now. And as they were the first couple of weeks of the season. And this is what I said when Green Bay was 2-0. They beat the living hell out of the Lions the first week. They did the same thing to the Commanders the week after that in week 2 on primetime. And I was kind of like, let's slow down a little bit on the Packers. People are like, this is the Packers' year. They're absolutely going to win the Super Bowl. I see #1 seed. I was just like, let's slow down a little bit on Green Bay. Like, I feel like they were riding a little high on the Micah Parsons trade. They played the first couple of games at home. People were saying Detroit's finished. Green Bay is going to win this division by 3 or 4 games at least. And I'm just like, the Lions are still there. The Lions are definitely a factor. Just because they lost their first game doesn't mean this team is cooked. They had their first couple of games at home, again, riding high off that Micah Parsons trade. And I think now, since they've kind of rode off that high a little bit, the issues are starting to become, more glaring for this Green Bay Packers team. You look around, I mean, they have good tackles. They have a good offensive line. They have Josh Jacobs, who is arguably a top 5 to 6 back at his best. I mean, I do like the receiving core. I like the receiving core more than most teams in the NFL, to be completely honest with you. So, I mean, in their defense, their pass rush is one of the best in the NFL. I mean, their defense played fantastic last night. And I've seen some things about, it's Matt LaFleur kind of on the hot seat. I mean, I think the Packers will still make the playoffs. Whether or not it's a high seed, I think if they get in, it's probably going to be maybe a 7 or a 6 seed at best. I mean, the way they're playing right now, they're not a playoff team. I do think they'll get it together. At the end of my video yesterday, I said I thought the Packers are going to win that game yesterday. I was going to be completely honest with you. I did. I thought, hey, it's kind of a big spot for them. I thought their offense was going to kind of come out and play well. The Eagles' offense has been kind of stagnant, which it was last night. I mean, the Eagles' offense really was not very good at all last night. I mean, they only put up 10 points. And at the end of the game, I was kind of like, what the hell was Nick Sirianni doing with that 4th down throw at the end of the game? When I was like, he could have just punted it, probably pinned him down within the 20-yard line. But instead, he put that near midfield, near field goal range. I mean, they were 10, 15 yards out. I mean, I think Jordan Love only completed 1 pass in that entire stretch last night. I mean, the Eagles didn't play well last night besides their defense. I thought both defenses played fantastic last night. Sometimes you look and it's like, you know what? Sometimes it's just a defensive battle. Like, it's not necessarily the offensive stink. It is just a real defensive battle. Well, really, the last month or so of the Packers in general, their offense just hasn't looked great. Even when they put up a decent amount of points, it's like, you feel like you're not getting the most out of this team. And it's odd with a head coach who's coached such a good offense that now it just seems like this ship has just sailed on this offense. Like, the Packers are the fan base seems to be very divided on between, is it Matt LaFleur? Is it Jordan Love? Like, what is going on? Because this wasn't an issue 8 weeks ago at all. Like, even 7 weeks ago, this wasn't an issue, and it hasn't been for the last few years of Jordan Love starting, when Matt LaFleur was coaching Aaron Rodgers, which of course you have Aaron Rodgers, it's a different story, but this just has not been an issue. And I don't really know what's going on now. One of my things is, and I wonder, and I said a few years ago when the Ravens were in the AFC Championship playing against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs did end up winning that game, but the Ravens had a historic offense and defense. I mean, you look all around, realistically, that was one of the best teams to ever touch a football field was that Ravens team back in 2023? I think it was the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl against the Eagles or the 49ers. I forget who they went against, but I think they did end up winning the Super Bowl that year. It was against the 49ers. And Mark Andrews was out for an extended period of time. He did something to his fibula or something in his leg. I forget what it was. But and the offense, honestly, they had Likely. They were kind of soaring, to be honest with you. Well, Mark Andrews came back in that AFC Championship game, and they stunk. Lamar was trying to force it to Andrews. The offense just wasn't on the same page. It just looked like a completely different team from the week prior. Well, now with Christian Watson, I kind of wonder if it's the same thing. Since he's come back, this offense and the team in general, not the team, the defense has actually played fine. I mean, against the Panthers, they only let up like 15 points, forced a couple of turnovers. Last night against the Eagles, I mean, I thought they played fantastic. You give up 10 points, you realistically should win that football game, especially when you're playing against an offense against A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, DeVonta Smith. I mean, all around, there's all-world talent on that Philadelphia Eagles offense. I mean, only giving up 10 points is pretty stout. So, with Christian Watson, is like their offense has just looked a mess since he's came back. They're not, I mean, it hasn't necessarily been 100% all year, but they've kind of flowed all right. I mean, what game did Christian Watson come back? I can't remember exactly what game it was, but it was only a few weeks ago. I think it may have been the Steelers game. They put up 35 points in that game. Well, I think since he's been back, they put up 13 and 7 points the last couple of weeks. They put up 27, 40. They did only put up 10 points against the Browns, but the Browns defense at home was like historically good. 27 against the Commanders and 27 against the Lions in the first week. So I think since Christian Watson has been back, to me, they just looked out of sync. I mean, they've had their moments this season, like against the Browns. Look, I'm not going to bang them for that game. I mean, every team has their trap game where they just don't look as great, but um, I mean, is Christian Watson maybe a factor? To be honest with you, you wonder if it has their offense out of sync. Like, he's a big play down the field threat. Well, Jordan Love's always been kind of just a gunslinger anyway. Like, he's going to force it down the field. These last couple of weeks, they don't have like a pace of just, hey, this 4 or 5 yard pass. Let's just kind of, gain a little bit of yardage at a time. It's like, it's all or nothing with this Packers offense. Like, that's what it kind of feels like to me, as like, Jordan Love either just throws a 50-yard bomb down the field, and that's the kind of receiver Christian Watson is. Kind of feels like he's forcing that pass a little more than usual. So you kind of wonder if that has a kind of something with their offense, like kind of sort of a say in it, to be honest with you, with how it's just played so poorly. I mean, that's the first time the Packers have lost back-to-back games in Lambeau Field since 2017. So that's saying something. I mean, that's 8 years since that has happened. So this team definitely is a great home team. But now the last couple of weeks, they're a way better team than Carolina is. I mean, Carolina played a good game. I'm not going to take anything away from them. But, I mean, they left the multiple points on the board that game. Kind of felt like they did again last night. Although, I give a lot of credit to that Eagles defense. I mean, they played fantastic. I mean, it's not just Matt LaFleur. It's not just Jordan Love. Like, you have to give credit to the Eagles defense. Again, they have all world level players on that defense. Their corners are fantastic. They hit hard. They have a pretty fierce pass rush. Like, the Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFL statistically, roster wise. I mean, how they're playing right now on offense, it definitely leaves some to be desired. But, regardless, they're still one of the best teams in the league record wise. And even they're not playing at their best. The Packers defense, again, has been playing fantastic. They haven't been the issue at all. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, is like, that's kind of what I thought it would be, was like the secondary for the Packers would kind of kill them all year. That's kind of what I thought it would be. But that's not the case. I mean, it's just their offense. I wouldn't have thought that in a million years. Brandon McManus, too. Like, I thought the end of the game was very strange. The fourth down that Nick Sirianni ended up throwing the ball on and didn't get it, which I mentioned earlier, was just really strange. That could have turned out to have been a seriously that could have been seriously bad for Nick Sirianni and the Eagles. They got very lucky. Like, Brandon McManus sucks. I mean, he's been terrible for the Packers the last few weeks. He's left a lot of points on the board for the Packers as well. I fully acknowledge that. He has been one of the worst kickers in the NFL, especially he's probably been the worst kicker in the NFL over the last 2-3 weeks or so. He's been terrible. And that kicker they had before him, he was applying to be like a substitute teacher, I think, was kicking really well. I think they've got to cut bait with Brandon McManus, to be honest with you. He's just been terrible. I mean, that 64-yard kick, look, I get it. It was going to be the longest kick ever made in Lambeau Field history. So that's already a hard place to kick. I wasn't expecting him to make the kick, but he missed it by like 40 yards, by like 30 yards to the left or to the right or whatever. Not even close. It was a terrible kick. And he's been costing them. He's been leaving a lot of points on the board for the Packers. So I think they might have to cut bait with him as well. And the Eagles, I mean, their offense is kind of broken, just like the Packers. Now, they didn't end up pulling off a couple of late game heroics yesterday. But even still, I mean, the Eagles' offense has just been broken. I mean, they played good against the Vikings. They are coming off of a bye week. So, I do have to give them a little bit of leeway. But usually after the bye, though, you get better. You get some rest. But again, the Packers' defense, their pass rush is fantastic. Their corners have been playing well. So I think a lot of it, well, we have been saying, and including myself, these offenses have been broken because they have been for a majority of the season. These defenses last night performed really well as well. As much as I've been kind of talking about these offenses so far throughout this video, I have to give a lot of credit to those defenses last night as well. They played their asses off last night. They played fantastic. So, I mean, whether or not was it more of the offenses being broken or or was it more just the defenses playing their ass off? I mean, I don't know. But I'd say it was more, I'd probably say it was 60-40 defensive. It was a really good defensive game. And 40% of just their offenses have a lot of horsepower, and they just stink. They just have been putting out poor performances for a lot of games so far this year. And you can pick out some games. They look fantastic. Packers versus Steelers, Eagles versus Vikings. Their offenses look fantastic in those games. But they've had moments where they seriously dropped some duds. And I thought last night, it was more of a defensive effort, but I'm not necessarily going to take away from their offenses should be playing better than they have been regardless. And again, the Eagles pull out a really good win. They're easily going to win the NFC East. I mean, that's not even a debate at this point, but the Packers are falling behind in that division now. Bears on a 5-game win streak. What are they, 6-3 now? I mean, the Lions don't look like they're slowing down. They came off of a big win against a pretty injury-depleted Commanders team, but even the Vikings, like, well, I'm not a fan of J.J. McCarthy and the whole Vikings situation right now. They're still on their tails. They're like 4-5. So that team, record-wise, is still in the mix. So this whatsoever, the Packers have got to start finding some sort of momentum because this could get ugly fast for Green Bay. It really could. I mean, they still have to play. I mean, have they played the Lions yet? Let me see. I have the rest of their schedule. They play the Giants, which they should win, but, who knows at this point. Jackson Dart, I don't know if he's going to be playing in that game or not. They play the Vikings, Lions, Bears after that. They play 3 straight divisional opponents. Then they play the Broncos, the Bears, the Ravens. So the rest of their schedule is tough. They have a tough schedule coming up. I don't know if I trust this team to go all out. I guess we'll just have to see. So top 10 Tuesday here today. Now we're just going to kind of fly through these here. As I mentioned, I'm kind of feeling a little bit under the weather. So my apologies if I just sound stuffy or anything like that. Or that's kind of hard for me to speak for prolonged periods of time. Of course, I didn't bring a water in here. Knowing me, of course, I forget to bring a damn water in here. My throat's all messed up and my nose is all messed up. That's my fault completely. But let's get in here to start off with the top 10 teams here for top 10 Tuesday. We're going to have an honorable mention here. They're on a bye week. I still have the Kansas City Chiefs. This is a make or break game for the Chiefs here. I think they'll play the Denver Broncos here coming up this week. If they lose, Chiefs are on some serious shit. I will say that here. I'll be the first one to say it. And they will move pretty far out from the honorable mention. And we're talking, is this team going to make the playoffs or not? Because this race is heating up. And that division's really going to pull away. I don't think they're going to be able to win their division. But that 7 seed is going to be extremely competitive. And the Chiefs I do have some concerns with the Chiefs. But as of right now, look, they had a tough game against the Bills. Bills always have their number in the regular season, so I'm going to keep them in the honorable mention for now. But this team is make or break this week. I fully acknowledge that. This team is fully make or break this week coming up. Number 10, I have the Bills. A pretty demoralizing loss against the Dolphins on Sunday. I had to drop them a lot. I was debating on dropping them out of the top 10, but look, it's a trap game. It's a divisional game. It happens, but they come off of a really stout win against the Chiefs to dropping a blowout, just a bomb. I mean, they just played like ass against the Dolphins, to be honest with you. So I do give teams benefit of the doubt. You still have Josh Allen, but there's some concerns there. The defense, Sean McDermott, the offense, Josh Allen's play has just been kind of all over the place these last few weeks. So kind of have to keep an eye out for that. With the Bills. I have them at 10. Number 9, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They drop a lot after the loss of the Pats. They're just not healthy on offense. I think when this team is fully healthy, you got Godwin, you got Bucky Irving, you got Mike Evans. This team's a juggernaut, but they're just not healthy. That's the only thing holding this team back right now to me. I have them at number 9. Number 8 of the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, I just kind of went on a full thing about the Eagles here. Look, I know the offensive line's been kind of dealing with some injuries, but definitely feels like they're not played up to their full potential at all. I think Eagles fans notice that, but they're still winning games. People still have them out of their top 10. I see in a couple of rankings, I think them like number 12. I'm like, guys, they're still winning games. They're not playing great. I think we all acknowledge that. They're not playing great, but they're winning games. Look at the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos are winning a lot of one-score games with, honestly, very talented roster. And they're not playing great either, but I have them ranked high as well. The Eagles, the Broncos should end up beating the Eagles. That's why I have them ranked higher, but I just think the Eagles, there's a lot left. There's a lot in the tank that is just not being fulfilled with this team yet. Do I think they'll turn it on? I think they will, especially getting closer to the playoffs. I think this is a playoff level. This is a playoff-made team. They run the ball. They're gritty. They have a hard-hitting defense, a good pass rush. To me, they're the most equipped for playoff football, not necessarily in shootouts. I mean, they are equipped for that, but they're meant to play in January, and I think that's where they're going to thrive. Number 7, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. New on the list here this week. They've been on the list for weeks now. They're 7-3. You look up and it's like, people are saying this team's done. Their tackles are done, including myself. I'm like, this team's going to struggle. Their tackles are done. Their running backs have been hurt. They're just have injuries all over the place in the most important positions, besides quarterback and stuff, of course. But you miss both your tackles, and Joe Walt and Rashawn Slater, high-level tackles who anyone would just pray to have on for the year. I figured that'd be a big blow, but they're 7-3. They're pulling out games. They're winning games. And I have to give them a lot of credit, man. They're getting it done, and they're starting to kind of pull away from the Chiefs in the AFC West. So I have to give them a lot of credit there. Number 6, I have the Indianapolis Colts. Look, I still dropped them a little bit. The issues with Daniel Jones and his fumbling issues are really becoming an issue. And he's had fumbling issues his entire career. And now they're really starting to come to light, especially over these last couple of weeks. He's had a lot of turnovers against the Steelers. He had a couple of fumbles, a couple of interceptions. He had a couple of fumbles that ended up being recovered by the Colts. It ended up getting covered by the Colts against the Falcons, which they got lucky. They got really lucky that ended up happening, or else he would have had a lot of turnovers, and they may have ended up losing that game. So, but Jonathan Taylor, playing like an MVP candidate, the defense training for Sauce Gardner, with Travarius Ward's playing next to him, that's going to be an issue for any offense going against them. I love the Colts, but I do have to drop them a little bit. I just think going forward, this fumbling issue with Daniel Jones doesn't necessarily go away, and I think the Colts have kind of one way to win. I think that is Jonathan Taylor playing his best football. But if you take away Jonathan Taylor, you have to leave it in Daniel Jones' hands. I think the Colts have an issue. I do, and I think he's very turnover prone. But I think when Jonathan Taylor's in control of the game, he's controlling the pace of the game. The Colts are one of, if not the best team in the league. So they're very one-sided to me, and that's where I kind of have an issue with the Colts. Number 5, I have the Detroit Lions. Look, the Lions offense, I love it. I know that we're playing against a very injury-depleted Commanders team. No Jane Daniels. Everyone on defense looks like they're 50 years old. The entire team, that entire Commanders team is just like they're either hurt in the hospital or you have people in the retirement home like Bobby Wagner and Von Miller. Just they look like they're 60 years old wearing fucking concrete on their feet out there. They literally just they look so slow. I mean, it's crazy. But the Lions' offense is explosive. Their defense is kind of starting to come back into form a little bit. They're starting to get some of their corners back. They're getting healthier, which has been a main issue with the Lions. So, yeah, I got the Lions at 5. Again, they're getting healthier. Their offense, to me, is still one of the best in the league. Yeah, they just keep on rolling, man. Number 4, I have the Denver Broncos. They moved down a couple spots. They were number 2 last week, but I got to move them down, especially after a performance like that to the Raiders. Again, I mentioned last week that the Broncos were the number 2 team on my list because they keep winning one-score games. But that one-score game was concerning how bad they were against a really bad Raiders team. I mean, look, they ended up winning one-score games is important, but when you play that poorly against a bad team, that is something to be concerned about. But they do end up pulling off the win. Bo Nix, I'm getting concerned with his performances. I mentioned at the beginning of the season that Bo Nix last year, you have to remember some of Bo Nix. He was the most pro-ready quarterback. That's why he looked so good. But as guys like Drake May develop, Caleb Williams develop, he's going to start falling behind, and he's going to look a lot worse than he was, especially when teams start getting film on Bo Nix and Sean Payton. That's what it kind of feels like with that Broncos offense a little bit. So some concerns, but the defense is playing great, and they pull off wins regardless. So, yeah, man. Number 3, I have the New England Patriots. I moved them up a spot. Big win against Tampa at a big spot. People talk about their cupcake schedule, this and that. Look, they beat the Bills. They beat Tampa. They beat themselves against Pittsburgh. They really should have beat Pittsburgh in week 1 against the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, anything happens in the first couple of weeks. I'm not going to hold that against anybody, but they've been playing great. Drake May's now the favorite in the MVP voting. The defense just is rolling. With Christian Gonzalez, they haven't lost a game, which I think is pretty incredible, and that really shows his value. But one of the best, if not the best, run defense in the NFL. They've just really held running backs in check. The offense is moving, and Kyle Williams and Travion Henderson had a breakout game. So I move them up to number 3. Number 2, I have the Seattle Seahawks. They just are so explosive. They're so fast, so quick, young. Mike McDonald is just coaching them so well. Sam Darnold's playing fantastic. JSN's like the best receiver in the league so far this season. So there's really not too much to say. The Seahawks and who I'm mentioning here, number 1, the Rams, have been fantastic. That's going to be a hell of a game when they play each other. And that game, for that division, it's going to come down to the last game of the year. I don't know if they play each other for their last games, but that's going to be cinema. That's going to be a hell of a watch. So, I have the Rams at number 1. Their offense has been moving. Their defense is just fierce. I mean, their pass rush is fantastic. Their corners have been playing great. They're so fast. Their offense, Matt Stafford has just been playing incredible. So, I have to give them a lot of credit. And like I mentioned with the Seahawks, that's going to be a hell of a game between those two. So that's it for my top 10 teams. Here for my top 10 QBs. I'm just going to kind of fly through these real quick. My honorable mentions, I have Caleb Williams. Man, sorry, y'all. I'm just really under the weather here today. Caleb Williams, I have in the honorable mention spot. He's been playing fantastic. And you look, there's a lot of injured QBs. Caleb has really snuck his way into borderline top 10 QB, especially with these game-winning drives. Now, the flaw with Caleb is what they've been saying is like he's got to play a real defense. But regardless, I mean, he's been playing fantastic. He has. I mean, still some inconsistencies, but he's been playing a lot better. And I have him in my honorable mention spot, especially with guys like Jordan Love now playing well. He's just crept his way up there, man. He's been playing great. Number 10, I have Jalen Hurts. He didn't have the greatest game against the Packers last night. He's just been doing enough for this team to win. He has not been turnover prone whatsoever. He's just been doing what it takes for this team to win, and that's why I have him as a top 10 QB as well. I mean, he's not necessarily making this team more explosive, but he's doing what it takes to win. He's not hurting the team. He's not doing any of that. I think he is playing good football, but he's not just creating any turnovers either. Number 9, I have Jared Goff. Again, in this explosive offense he's in, he fits in perfectly, especially behind an offensive line. That's been fantastic. Has had his injury issues, but they're starting to kind of come together a little bit as a unit, and I think that'll help Jared Goff in general going forward. Number 8, I have Baker Mayfield. Again, Baker, he actually played really good against New England. Had some drives for a while that just kind of stalled, but again, they're not healthy. The more that offense gets healthier, the better Baker will get. And I actually think he's been playing perfectly fine. It just feels like, hey, Baker, can you carry us? And I just think that kind of hurts the team in general because, again, they're just not healthy. And Baker's doing his best, and I actually think he's doing really well at that. But, again, I got to drop him down a little bit there to number 8, especially after a loss that he played well in overall. But we did get outplayed by Drake May in that game. Number 7, I have Justin Herbert. Again, missing both your tackles, missing your running backs, your main running backs for a majority of the year. You have to give him a lot of credit for what he's doing down there. He has been fantastic. He had a stretch a few weeks ago where he was starting to throw a lot of turnovers, and it was looking like the season was going to start going like this for the Chargers, really downhill. So he's really turned it around, and from where he was the first couple of weeks to now, the last couple of weeks, he has been one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL so far for sure. Number 6, I have Sam Darnold. Some argue I should probably have him higher, but they go up big in these games. He has been probably the best first half quarterback in the league, especially over the last couple of weeks. They've went up like 28-0 on teams, like right off the jump. He's been fantastic. He's like, it's a rarity he ends up missing a pass. He's been one of the best deep ball throwers in the league. But I mean, again, these guys are all so talented in the top 6, 7, 8 spot. It's really incredible how good these guys are. It's so hard to rank these guys. It really is. Darnold, again, they've just been playing fantastic, and so is he. He's been one of the best deep ball throwers in the NFL. He's had some turnovers, especially over the last game against the Cardinals. He had a stretch of multiple fumbles. I mean, sometimes the one thing I worry about with Darnold, especially in January, when he has to play in the playoffs, is like, can he end up keeping these turnovers contained? That's what I worry about with Darnold a little bit. He's a big play quarterback. He loves throwing the deep ball. He loves making big plays. Can he end up doing that in January? And sometimes when it doesn't work, it creates some really ugly turnovers and ugly plays for the Seahawks. And kind of felt like that with the Cardinals, even though you look at the scoreboard, it was a blowout win. I mean, they were up like 35-0, I think, at one point or something like that. And, he's a big reason for that. He's been fantastic. Number 5, I have Lamar Jackson. Again, he hasn't played a majority of the season, so I kind of have to watch where I put him a little bit. But his last couple of weeks, I didn't even think he played that great against the Vikings. But again, we know how good Lamar is, especially when he's healthy. He looks healthy again. He looks fast. His passing has been fantastic. And again, the only thing that's really hurting him from being higher is that he missed multiple weeks out with a hamstring. Again, some of you are probably wondering, like, what the hell does that have to do with him being higher? These guys I just have higher have played longer throughout the season, and I just think have been, playing a little bit better in terms of what they've been playing the whole season so far. Number 4, I had Patrick Mahomes, again, off of a bye week, but he was the MVP favorite. He had a pretty rough outing against the Bills. He's had some rough games. He had like a 98-yard pick six against the Jags about a month or so back, but if it wasn't for Mahomes, I think this Chiefs team would be even in a worse spot than they are. So they're not in a bad spot per se, but they're not in a comfortable spot. They're not where they've been at the entire Patrick Mahomes era, where they're leading this division by multiple games through 10 weeks, 11 weeks so far this season. They're not in that spot. They're not in a comfortable spot. They're not where they're used to being at. And I think this will be telltale for Mahomes and the Chiefs over these next couple of weeks. Is like, okay, they're not where they're typically at. They're in an uncomfortable position. What do they do from here? So we'll see with that. Number 3, I have Josh Allen. Again, a pretty poor performance against the Dolphins. He's had some kind of poor performances, a couple of them so far this year. He's been number 1 for the most part on my list, but I had to drop him down after that game to Miami. I think he had one of the worst interceptions of his career against Miami. It was terrible. I mean, it really was. You guys, if you haven't seen it, you got to go back and look. It was bad. You end up dropping a game like that, especially with these two, coming off of wins that I'm ranking over him. Got to drop him down a couple spots, especially after a loss like that against Miami. Still being top 3 ain't a bad thing either. Number 2, I have Drake May. Some of you guys are probably wondering, well, he's the favorite to win the MVP. How the hell is he number 2 on the list? Look, he didn't necessarily have the greatest game against the Bucs. He did have a good game. The numbers, you kind of look at the numbers, you're like, well, he actually didn't have really a great game at all. The numbers don't speak for how, he did have a really good game, but it still felt like there was some there to be desired a little bit. He did end up missing some deep balls at the beginning of the game. I think the rain had a bit to play in that as well, but again, you can swap him with number 1 here, which is Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford has just been tearing teams alive in the pocket. He has been fantastic. I got to keep him at number 1. As much as I love May as a Patriots fan, and the dual threat ability May brings, and if you wanted to put him at number 1 and put Stafford 2, I wouldn't complain a bit. I'm splitting hairs with these two right now. But how good Stafford has just been, and how good May has been as well in terms of the deep ball and picking teams apart as well. Stafford is the passing touchdowns leader right now, and he has just been freaking on fire. I mean, Nakua, him and Devontae Adams are building a real connection. It's been scary, and the Rams are only getting better. And I mentioned with the Rams yesterday that this time of the year, the Rams always get smoking hot. So this is the time to really look out for Stafford and the Rams just midway through the season, kind of making that push towards the end here to getting towards week 11. So this is definitely a hot spot for the Rams and Stafford right now. That's what it's been the last few years, and that's the way they're playing. They're just red hot. And again, the Rams and Stafford stay at number 1 for 2 consecutive weeks here on Top 10 Tuesday. So, yeah, man, that's it for my top 10 teams and QBs. Again, I apologize if I sound a little bit under the weather here, and I'm having a cough or whatever it is. Again, the weather here, it was 60 degrees 2 days ago. It's been 30 and just crazy windy over the last few days, and it's just been messing with family members of mine, friends, all that. It's just pretty annoying. So that's it for today's video. Again, I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Again, I appreciate you guys' support. If you haven't hit that like button or that subscribe button yet, please make sure to do so, as it helps out the channel so much. Again, even while I'm not feeling well, whatever it is, I always look to push out daily content for you guys no matter what. So, again, appreciate your guys' support. That's it for today's video, everybody. Take it easy.